When we first moved into our home on Willow Creek Road last year, I thought we had found the perfect place to start anew. It was an old Victorian-style house with creaky floors and a quaint charm that reminded me of the stories my grandmother used to tell about her own childhood home. The paint was peeling in some places, and the roof needed a bit of work, but the house had character. It felt like it was meant to be ours. For the first few weeks, everything seemed normal. The kids settled into their new rooms, and life went on as it always had. My youngest daughters, Emily and Sophie, who were 7 and 5, loved their shared room at the end of the hall. They spent hours playing together, their laughter echoing through the house. My older children, Jason and Lily, who were both teenagers, enjoyed having their own spaces, and I felt a sense of peace knowing that we had a home where we could all grow together. But then, things started to change. It began with a smell, a foul, rotting odor that would come and go without warning. At first, I thought it was a dead animal caught under the house or in the attic. My cousin, who was always handy with these things, came over to help me check every nook and cranny. We searched the crawl spaces, the attic, even the walls, but we found nothing. No dead animal, no signs of rot or decay. Yet, the smell persisted, sometimes so strong it made me gag, other times faint and distant like a bad memory. The girls were the first to mention the tapping. They said it came from the closet, a soft, rhythmic sound that would wake them up in the middle of the night. I suspected it was a rodent and put down traps, but the traps remained empty, the bait untouched. The tapping continued, and the girls started to become anxious, their once joyful play now tinged with fear. Then, in November, the running began. At first, it was just a faint patter in the hallway, like the sound of tiny feet scurrying across the wooden floors. It happened so infrequently that I dismissed it as the house settling or perhaps the wind rattling the old windows. But as the weeks went by, the running grew louder, more insistent. It was no longer just a sound, it was a presence. I would wake in the dead of night to the sound of footsteps racing up and down the hallway outside my room. Every time, I would check on the children, expecting to find one of them sneaking around, but they were always fast asleep, their faces peaceful, unaware of the terror that was beginning to seep into our lives. The whispers were the next to come. Emily and Sophie were the first to hear them. They said it was someone saying their names, calling to them from the shadows of their room. I told them it was just their imaginations, perhaps a remnant of the monster under the bed fears that children often have. But then, Jason and Lily started hearing them too. They described the same thing. Voices low and hushed, speaking in the dark, calling their names. I still hadn't experienced anything firsthand until January. That's when the nightmares started. Horrible, vivid dreams of being trapped in a dark place, surrounded by unseen forces that wanted to hurt me. I would wake up drenched in sweat, my heart pounding, the cold seeping into my bones. My room was always freezing, no matter how high I turned up the heat. And then one night I felt it. I woke to the sensation of someone sitting on my bed, the weight of it pressing down on the mattress, the subtle shift of the sheets as if a body was right beside me. I froze, my breath caught in my throat, too terrified to move. When I finally dared to reach out, there was nothing there, just an empty space where I had felt the presence moments before. 2 nights later, I heard my name. It was a whisper, soft and urgent, right next to my ear. I turned on the light, expecting to see one of the children, but the room was empty. I was alone. By then, I knew something was terribly wrong. We are Catholic, and I decided to get our priest involved. Father Michael came to the house, and we walked through every room as he performed a blessing, sprinkling holy water and saying prayers. For a short time, it seemed to help. The running stopped, the whispers faded, and the house felt lighter, less oppressive. But it didn't last. A month later, the running returned, more aggressive than before. This time I saw it, a dark figure, just a shadow really, moving through my bedroom, slipping past the door and vanishing into the hallway. It was the first time I'd seen it, and I felt a cold dread settle in my chest. I knew then that whatever was in our home was not something I could simply pray away. Father Michael came back, performing a more intense blessing and anointing of the house. Once again, things seemed to quiet down, but the peace was short-lived. The final straw came when my oldest daughter, Lily, told me she had felt something touch her inappropriately. She described it as a cold hand, unseen and unwelcome, brushing against her in the dark. That was the moment I knew we could no longer stay. We packed our bags and left that very night, seeking refuge at my mother's house. We've been staying here ever since, too afraid to return to the home that had turned into a nightmare. The thought of going back fills me with dread, but I know that at some point, we will have to face whatever is haunting Willow Creek. For now, we wait, hoping that the distance will keep us safe, but deep down, I fear that the darkness we fled from is not so easily left behind. Did this story really happen? Or was it just the overworked imagination of a writer? Did we get you on this one? Is it real or fake? Have you heard this story before? Or does it sound like something you may have heard? Or did we just make the whole thing up? You tell us. Comment below. What do you think? I will reveal the real and the fake ones on December 18th.